Let's start first with Batley. Was George Galloway right when he said it was effectively a referendum on Keir Starmer's leadership of Labour?
Well, that's how George Galloway wanted to frame this by-election. But for the people of Batley and Spen, it was about who they wanted to be their MP. And Kim embodies everything that is great about our country and great about Batley and Spen, but actually the values that are at the heart of the Labour Party, about integrity, about hope, about decency. And under Keir's leadership, those are the values in the Labour Party that are thriving. And Kim embodies those in every way. And it's just so wonderful that tomorrow she will be in Westminster representing Batley and Spen. I can't wait to see her starting work as an MP and having the chance to work with her.
But can Keir Starmer take credit for that victory in any way?
Well, look, Kim chose to be a Labour candidate under Keir's leadership, and the values that Kim embodies are the values that are the heart of Keir's leadership of the Labour Party, trying to bring people together against the divisive politics of others, about integrity and honesty, which is the heart of what Keir Starmer stands for. And that was at the heart of our campaign in incredibly difficult circumstances. I've been a member of the Labour Party for over 25 years. I think I've campaigned in pretty much every election and by-election during that time. I have never seen anything like what we faced in Batley and Spen, with the aggression, the intimidation of some people, mainly from outside of Batley and Spen, and that should play no place in our democratic politics. But in Batley and Spen, more than anywhere, they deserved so much better than what they saw from some people during this by-election campaign.
But just to push you slightly further, so you don't think that victory was in any way an endorsement of Keir Starmer's leadership?
No, no. On the contrary, this campaign was fought on the values that Keir brings to the Labour Party leadership of decency, integrity, and honesty. Those are the values that Kim represents, and those are the values that Keir represents as well. And the Labour campaign, the Labour team coming together in Batley and Spen to deliver that result, with Kim as a fantastic candidate who resonated so much with people locally. It was a pleasure to be part of that campaign, but what we were up against was truly terrible at times. The victimisation, the intimidation, the harassment of Kim herself, who didn't deserve that, but also of Labour activists, egging, violence. That should play no part in democratic politics. But Batley and Spen, more than any constituency, after everything it's gone through in the last 5 or so years, deserves so much better than what they've gone through in the last few weeks. And Kim's job now is to bring that community together, as Keir's job is to bring the country together.
Well, what about bringing the Labour Party together? Now, there's a lot of chatter about a possible leadership challenge this summer if the party had lost Batley. What's your message to those fellow MPs of yours who may have been tempted to trigger a leadership challenge?
Well, we're not hearing much from them this weekend, are we? We won in Batley. It was a brilliant result in Batley. And I'm proud to have played a small part in it, campaigning in a seat just down the road from my own in Leeds West for an incredible candidate who I really believe in, but also a Labour Party that I really believe in. And we are now, I think, going to be able to go from strength to strength with that victory under our belt. And that's why today I'm setting out some really ambitious and bold plans to buy, make and sell more in Britain, the sort of Chancellor that I want to be under Keir's leadership under the next Labour government.
Yeah, I'd like to ask you a little bit more about that policy in a minute, actually. But in the meantime, some of your colleagues felt that Angela Rayner was less than emphatic in ruling out a possible leadership contest. What's your advice to fellow members of the Shadow Cabinet who may be unhappy with Keir's leadership? He recently himself, I think he told in Shadow Cabinet that actually if you didn't like what he was up to, they should shut up or get out. Is that advice more relevant than ever now?
Look, I think what you saw in Batley and Spen was the Labour Party coming together to campaign for an incredible candidate. And this weekend, I think, puts to bed that talk of any leadership challenge. It was a great result for Labour in Batley and Spen, and I think it's just the start of a fight back from Labour, and we need to fight the next election and any by-election that comes our way in the next couple of years in the same way that we took on the Batley and Spen by-election,
And
based on our values of decency, integrity and honesty.
can I ask you, Edward, do you think the plotters even have the required 40 MPs needed for a leadership challenge?
I just think that this is it's a non-issue. There's not going to be a leadership challenge. We've just won a by-election in incredibly difficult circumstances. We're all looking forward to welcoming Kim Leadbeater to Parliament tomorrow. We've had this victory. I believe we can go from strength to strength with other victories, and that we are just in so much of a better place as a party after this fantastic result. And it was a great campaign, fought
And
on the ground
can you indulge me in
by Labour.
Can you indulge me in the hypothetical, even just for a second, which is, if there were a leadership challenge, a lot of your colleagues think Keir Starmer would win it hands down amongst party members. Do you think that's the case?
Well, he won the leadership of our party just over a year ago with an emphatic vote. So, our party is very much behind Keir and his leadership, and the job that he's doing in turning around the Labour Party after that worst general election defeat since 1935. And, it's still work in progress. You can't turn round an election defeat like that overnight. And, the last year and a bit has been a tricky time for all of us with the pandemic, but challenging time as well to be leader of the opposition when you can't even make a speech in front of a live audience. So, look, I hope that things are going to be able to change, and Keir's going to be able to get out and about around the country much more. But there's no leadership challenge. What there is a job at hand, which is to get Labour back on track, to win back the supporters of people who have turned away from us and feel that Labour has turned away from them over the last few years, and win back their support and trust so that we can win again in the country and take forward the ideas and values and beliefs that brought us all into the Labour Party in the first place.
And do you expect that vaccine bounce to wear off for the rest of the year now, then, for the government?
Well, look, we all are so grateful to everybody involved in getting us vaccinated. I've had my two jabs now, 2 weeks on since my second jab, and I feel much more confident, and incredibly grateful to our wonderful NHS and volunteers and scientists who have made that possible. That you've seen the polls narrow a little bit. People are pretty disgusted by the behaviour of Matthew Hancock, but it's a sort of a pattern of behaviour that there's one rule for those at the top of the Conservative government and another rule for everybody else. And I think the Batley and Spen by-election shows that Labour are back in business, back in the game, and that's where we need to be if we are going to be able to take on the Tories and win at the next election. And I feel incredibly energised after the Batley and Spen by-election, but also because of the bold ideas that Labour are putting forward, which I think will gain support.
Can I ask you about
show the difference a Labour government would make?
Can I ask you about that bold policy you're talking about today, which is made in Britain on procurement rules? It's your first big announcement since you became Shadow Chancellor. This, I mean, how would you make it work in practice? And is it basically a reheat of Gordon Brown's British Jobs for British Workers? Would that be a fair way of describing it, as a post-Brexit version of that?
That's certainly not how I would put it. This is about a post-pandemic economic recovery plan, and it's how, as Chancellor, I would get our economy firing on all cylinders, supporting small businesses, our high streets and industries and jobs to address some of the big challenges we face. And I put forward today a 3-point plan to buy, make and sell more in Britain. And that includes changing our procurement rules so that we can award more contracts to businesses that are creating jobs here in Britain. Other countries do it, in the US and France, for example. We need to be much more strategic about those big investments, whether it is in HS2, in offshore wind, in our Trident submarines. We should be using British procurement to get those high-skilled, high-paid jobs that you can raise a family on in all parts of the country. And that's what I would do as Chancellor. It's also about building more resilience and security into our economy, both post-pandemic and post-Brexit, to make those secure supply chains by reshoring jobs in this country. And it's about sorting out, Paul, some of the problems with our Brexit deal that the government signed last year, which have shortchanged our creative industries, our professionals in professional services, and also our farming food businesses, where we've seen a 47% drop in exports to the EU since that deal was signed.
Yep.
So it's a three-part plan to ensure that we are buying, making and selling more in Britain to get our economy firing on all cylinders.
Rachel Reeves, thanks very much for that. We'll discuss it in greater detail next time you're on. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Paul.